Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Saturday edition of Football 24/7. Eagles out there for day 3 of open sessions. Today, a 98-minute practice. We have Johnny Mack live from the NovaCare Complex following day 3. Johnny Mack, how you doing on this Saturday afternoon, brother?
Doing well. Back on the field. They had a walkthrough yesterday, but now we get to see them today. So, I think a positive day for the defense overall. I think they stepped up a little bit today. First time you saw a little bit of angst from an offensive standpoint, a little bit more difficulty at times. Maybe that was just simply related to trying to get the football down the field a little bit more than they had been the first couple days. So obviously that tends to be a little bit more difficult. Also worked in the red zone for the first time today. So you saw a couple touchdowns to Devontae Smith. We haven't seen touchdowns. So get in the red zone, you're running up plays, you're going to have some touchdowns. So finally got to see some of that. But another step in the process, but I think some positive things from the defense today.
Defensive day here on day 3 of training camp. Johnny Mack, one of the first sentences you wrote in your recap over on Sports Illustrated. After 2 sharp practices, Jalen Hurts took a step back and was wild high on a few occasions. Tell me what you saw from quarterback 1, Jalen Hurts, today at practice number 3, John.
Yeah, I think part of it was the defense. I think Moro Jomo had a nice day. I think Tyler Steen had a lot of difficulties trying to handle Moro today. So there was a little bit more pressure. And as I said, some of the underneath stuff was replaced by trying to get the ball a little bit further down the field. A couple times when you're hurt and people are at your feet, obviously you have the red jersey on, so you're not too worried about getting hit. But I think, some of the throws were hurried and went a little bit high compared to what it was when, the ball was barely hitting the ground on the first 2 practices. So nothing to worry about, but it wasn't as sharp. And again, as we talked about with J.J. Watt's comments, and
yeah, right.
It was obvious the Eagles shifted to work on some different things. And that's, what I'm trying to get better at. I'm still trying to get better, even though I've been doing this for so long. But, trying to give that context of obviously they're trying to work on, they were trying to work on the other knee stuff. Now they were trying to move to a different process. So, nature, think about it from a basketball perspective. If you're shooting layups all day, you're going to have a high percentage. And if you go out, you're going to start to miss some. So I think that's what happened today.
Yeah, good analogy there. John, a name jumps out, though, as you explain that. Is Moro Jomo looking good at training camp so far? He seems to be putting work in, making some things hard on the offense for the offense in practice.
Yeah, I think he had a good day today. He had a pass break up at the line of scrimmage. He was getting some push, and, there was one particular pass rush when he was at Jalen Hurts' feet that he made him pretty uncomfortable. I still think we're going to see the pads come on early next week. I still think that's when you can really start to look at where the defensive linemen and the offensive linemen are and how they perform when the pads come on. So that'll probably happen Tuesday from what I'm hearing. But they might shift it up because the early weather forecast is it's going to be very hot on Tuesday. So I don't know how that's going to.
It was hot today. How was the heat today?
It wasn't bad today. I mean, it's pretty hot, but it was overcast for most of the practice. So it wasn't a blazing sun. So it wasn't as bad as it could be.
Good stuff there. Johnny Mack, let's talk about some of those highlights on offense. You wrote about them. You talked about them a little bit in the open there. Big go route to A.J. Brown, again on Keely Ringo. 2 Devontae Smith touchdowns. What'd you see from those guys? And were there – John, you've talked about how the practices were boring. Were they not boring, for lack of a better word? Were they a little bit more, splashy type plays today in practice? What did you see from the highlights on the offense today?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit more exciting today because they did sort of open up some more things. Going back to the basketball comp, a bunch of easy stuff the first 2 days, and now they were trying a few more difficult things. So that opens up, both things for the offense and the defense.
Right.
The second and third team, Elijah Cooks made some nice plays. This is probably the best practice I've ever seen Johnny Wilson have.
Oh,
He
there you
had a
go.
nice day.
In what way, John? I think a lot of people have been waiting to hear his name because everybody talks about him like he's going to make the roster, and not many have seen enough from him, or at least in their eyes, whether that's right or wrong, you decide. But that he hasn't done enough to make the roster. So, what way did he look better today?
Well, I think his roster stuff is tied to his blocking
Yeah, I
and his
agree.
impact on that part of it. But as a receiver, yeah, if you're just gauging receiver as a receiver, he probably doesn't deserve to make the roster or in the past. But again, there's different roles, and he's in a different role. Today, he caught the football, which is, step number one. You got to be consistent
Right.
catching the football, and he
Yeah,
was.
right.
Had a 2 or 3 receptions. Nice job, middle of the field. Used his body. I haven't seen. He doesn't play like he's 6'6". You got to if you are 6'6", and there aren't a lot of 6'6" receivers in the NFL, and that's why so many of them shift towards 2 tight end.
Right.
But I mean, if you are, you got to use your body, and he doesn't really play like he's
Yeah,
six
he's not
foot six.
physical. Yeah, not at all.
And today he started to use his body, and obviously, half of the thing is there's no corners in the league that are going to be able to box him out, so to speak. So a lot of basketball talk on today's show, but yeah, I thought he played well. Elijah Cooks played well. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is the third stringer. He finally showed something. He had a nice touchdown pass in the red zone to Giles Jackson, another guy. He made a couple plays, undrafted
Right.
rookie receiver. Defensively, we mentioned Ajomo. Jalix Hunt keeps, popping up, and everybody keeps saying positive things about him. There's there's excitement about Jahad Campbell as he continues to get reps, and the corner situation is still to be determined. Same with the safety situation, but I think the front did a better job today. And again, when you talk about the quickness of guys like Ajomo and Hunt, that shows up better before the pads come on than after the pads come on. So, that's where Lane and Jordan and Landon will start to stand out. So it's going to be interesting to see how that progresses.
Yeah, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, one thing on the injury list. No Jalen Carter again today. We have no concern there. Do we know why he's missed these 3? Is there any more information around that? That was kind of one that I haven't really heard why he's been out. I just heard shoulder. What's the story on Jalen Carter missing the first 3 here?
Yeah, he's got a banged up shoulder. I mean, this is happening around the NFL. You have good players, and if there's
Right.
anything wrong, they're just going to shut them down.
Well,
It's not that
what do you suspect could be wrong though? Just like literally tweaking it in the gym, or is it? I don't know. I'm trying to think of what kind of shoulder injury you would show up to camp.
Yeah, it's nothing
Like,
serious because he's out. He's out there. I've been told it's not serious. I know people until they see him, they're not going to believe him. But
no, I
he's out
believe him.
there.
I was just wondering if there was more to it, or you know what I mean, or you uncovered anything else about it.
No, we haven't gotten to talk to him yet. He's out there every day. He's not away. He doesn't leave practice. He even, often when the defense finishes a set of reps, it'll run to their end zone and run back as an extra conditioning. He's even been doing that. So he's not, it's nothing serious. It's one of their best players. He's not 100% optimal, so they're not going to
Right.
play him. And the other guys also need reps as well. So that's a silver lining to when you don't have one of your key guys that that means Jordan Davis is getting more reps in the four-man fronts. Morrow's getting a ton of reps. You get to look at more Thomas Booker. You get to look at more Ty Robinson, et cetera, et cetera. So, there's no need for Jalen Carter to be out here on July 26th if he's not 100%. And that's pretty much, and you'll see that with other guys. If other guys tweak something that are of that.
I wonder, John, if it's just kind of precautionary anyway. I mean, look at all the snaps he played last year. Maybe they're taking a little bit of a Saquon approach where if we don't need him out there, probably not going to give him all that much extra work.
Saquon's out there. No, I mean, if he was 100%, he'd be out there. But
okay.
If Saquon had, tweaked his ankle or something, you wouldn't see him probably for the rest of camp. I mean,
yeah.
So if he were optimal 100%, he'd be out there, and he's not.
Right.
So I don't want to say they're shutting him down. They're picking it. I mean, he's still very young. AJ's all the stars are out there because they're 100%. So I'm not trying to say he's 100%. He's not. They're not hiding him. He's dealing with a shoulder injury, but it's not a serious shoulder injury, and it's nothing to be concerned about.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, we're going to move into some of the battles as well. But there was one thing you wrote that I found very interesting. You wrote something about Quinyon Mitchell and any thought of him potentially dropping off is, I think you used dissipating rapidly was the words you used. And I love that phrase, but tell me what you're seeing from Quinyon Mitchell to write something like that, Johnny Mac.
I mean, he doesn't get beat. It's you go back to last year and it's, today they might have taken two things. For whatever reason, there's never any traffic going his way. Now, in practice, they shouldn't be avoiding him, but for whatever reason, very rarely does the football go his way to begin with. And when it does, he's right there. I mean, he's locked in coverage. And today was Devontae Smith, who had probably the offensive player of the day, I would say. And, getting the 2 touchdowns in the red zone, or at least it looked like he got in. He was near the goal line on one. Earlier in the practice, they were trying to throw a deeper route to Devontae, and Quinyon was right there. He tried to the point. He was draped on him. He tried to catch it one-handed, couldn't come up with the football. And that's like every day. He's just and obviously that's against some very good receivers because he's only taking first-team reps, and he's only working pretty much against either AJ or Devontae. So,
right.
Yeah, he's just a very good player. And, corners are going to get beat occasionally. I'm not saying he's perfect because sometimes I think people think that, but he's a very, very good player.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, let's go Cooper DeJean watch, and then we'll talk about those position battles and wrap it up here on a Saturday edition. Appreciate all of our great viewers for being here on a Saturday, a little football 24/7. If the birds are on the field, we're talking football here on JAKIB Sports. We appreciate all of you guys. Hit that like button. Drop your comments in the chat. Any super chats here we will take on the show. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel for daily Eagles content every single day. John, Cooper DeJean watch in base defense. He was back at safety. How's your thought process evolving on Cooper DeJean and what his role is going to be this year, John?
Yeah, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer. That's the thing. And, they're very rarely in the base defense. Vic said 160 times last season total. Right. So those 160 times, if that's going to carry over, give or take, he's going to be at safety. And then when they're in nickel, which is the vast majority of the time, he'll move to the slot to keep him on the field for every single play.
Now, John, is the expectation there? Sorry to cut you off, but is the expectation there that the other outside corner would be Ringo or I guess Adoree, and it's a battle between those two for that spot right now?
Yeah, that's still going to be a competition. And
yeah, because I'm wondering if Cooper could still take that over depending on how camp goes.
Well, Vic said at some point he's going to get some reps outside, but until we see it, it hasn't happened yet. 3 consecutive days he's been playing safety in the base defense. So
Right.
it seems to be they're leaning that way. Now, Adoree got the first rep today at outside corner, and they split reps. Kaylee got the first rep in 7-on-7s, and they're also cross training. They're making sure that Ringo gets snaps on the left side as well. When AJ beat him on the go route, it was on the he was playing left corner, not right corner. So they're cross training everybody as well to make sure, in case Quignon has to travel, that they're comfortable
Right.
moving to the other side as well. So, right now, if I had to say over 3 days and you're grading, Adoree has probably played better.
And he's gotten 2 of the 3 starts on the 3 days. Now, maybe it was Ringo's day yesterday, as you pointed out on a previous show, but I'm just to keep score. It has been Adoree 2 of the 3 days getting the first
it
rep.
was Ringo, but I do want to. I'm glad you brought that up because it was Ringo day 1. It was Adoree day 2. Day 3
Right.
was a walkthrough. It was probably a Ringo, and day 4 this would have been Adoree's turn. So I don't think it's him going ahead.
Yeah, really to
as
tell.
much as and I think you're going to see that back and forth. And the positive thing about Ringo, he was right there again. It's not like AJ beat him. He was right there in coverage, and what he's having trouble with is finishing plays.
Yeah, he needs some polish, Johnny Mac. He's still learning how to play the game in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not like he did get beat by Terrace Marshall on day 1 pretty significantly. But every other play that has been made on him that you've probably heard from me or other people, he's been right there in coverage. He just hasn't been able to make the play at the catch point, which, he's going to have to at some point.
Right.
But it's not the end of the world is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Ringo's still got some work to do, but we'll follow all along on that. Excuse me, John. The first competition we just talked about with Ringo and Adoree Jackson. I want to shift to safety outside of base and nickel. Who are we thinking right now at safety? How did it develop on day 3 in the Sidney Brown versus Andrew Makuba battle in the back end?
Yeah, Sidney's still getting more first team reps, and we'll see how that goes. I will say, and I should have put this. I did mention Dallas looked very good, Dallas Goedert, but I saw that. I mean, part of the there was one play where Dallas was matched up with Makuba and just the size difference. So that should be a little bit of a concern because you got a lot of big, talented tight ends around the NFL.
Yeah. Makuba is small compared to a guy like Goddard, isn't he?
Yeah, and it was really a mismatch in the middle of the field to the point that there's nothing Makuba could do. So that might be a little bit of a concern. Now,
you got to put on some muscle, John. Safety. Yeah, you got to put on some muscle, though.
Yeah, tight ends are always going to be bigger than safeties, but there are guys better equipped physically.
Cooper,
Reed, Sidney are better equipped physically. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. Certainly, Vic wants coverage skills at safety, and that's why Cooper's playing there. That's why they drafted Makuba. So, but that's the goal of coaches, accentuate the strengths and try to minimize the deficiencies as much as possible. But he's going to have a tough time matching up with some tight ends from a physical perspective.
Yeah, we'll see how that develops. We'll see. I wonder if there's any movement that could happen between all those secondary guys. You got so many, different type of talented players. Like, John, you don't think, I mean, I know it's early and obviously they don't want him to be this, but is there any world where Makuba could play a different position one day, or Sidney Brown could, or Cooper DeJean, and we already obviously have talked about dropping back. Is there any world in which, I don't know, maybe even a Ringo would get moved somewhere? Do you see that happening with any of those guys or not really?
No, I mean, Makuba played slot in college. He played more slot at Clemson before he moved to Texas. So
you could see that happening with him.
Vic knows his history there. You know, a lot of people speculated because of Ringo's size that eventually he would move to safety.
Right.
You know, Cooper can play any position. I mean, that's what they look for is versatility and cross. Dory Jackson can play left corner. He was talking today. He's like, yeah, I played left corner, right corner, slot. He could play safety. So they do have a lot of versatility. And that's what you're looking for specifically with defensive backs and offensive linemen, probably
Right.
most notably guys who can move around.
It
But
does
it
seem to be
happens
a
all the
targeted
time,
approach, John, for sure, to get those type of players. More versatility, yeah.
But yeah, you know, I could definitely see, you know, long term, I could definitely see a situation where, you know, if the Eagles want to pull the trigger on Cooper playing safety full time, that Makuba would be playing in the slot. I could see that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering too as well. Interesting stuff there, John. Let's move up the defense layer by layer. Let's go to that linebacker room. Still Trotter in there. Who I didn't see the report on the linebackers. Any change to the starting linebackers today? I know Nakobe Dean is obviously still sidelined. He was watching practice intently today.
Yeah, no, you know, that's a position that's been every single first team rep has been Zach Bond and Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Yep.
At some point. And
So where is Campbell practicing, John? Is he more lining up with the linebackers or with the edge rushers?
No, he's all linebacker, but he's been all the second team reps. Him and Smile Munden have gotten all the second team. So that's a position that has not moved at all. And at some point, and that'll be a big story when it happens, at some point he'll start getting some first team reps, and you know, we'll see where it goes from there. But it
wouldn't surprise me if that came pretty quick.
Yeah, well, they might be waiting for him to be. He's still limited. He's still got.
Right.
He's still on a rep count. You know, it's interesting. Jihad talked to us today. I was in the first seat, front row, and I asked Bob Brookover, my buddy, was sitting next to me. You know, maybe it's me, but he, you know, I was very close to him, and his right arm is a heck of a lot bigger than his left arm. So I do think, you know, there's still some getting back physically as well that he's going through.
You mean from a physical therapy point of view, yes, where he's got to rehab
because
it more.
He had, you know, obviously he was, you know, nothing wrong with one arm, and you have the inability to work out the other arm for a long period of time. So he's still working through some things physically. He's not 100%. He's limited. It's positive that he's doing any team drills, and he is, and he's working quite a few second team reps, but he's still limited. So I think people have to understand that. They might be just waiting to when he's fully cleared,
right,
to get him some first team reps.
Anybody standing out at that linebacker room? How's Zach Bond look as the certified leader of the linebackers coming into this year, as opposed to where he started last year?
Yeah, Zach, I would put the same category as what I was saying about Quinion. I'm not worried. I'm not worried a
Me
little
neither,
bit.
John. Me neither, John. That guy has it. He's got what it takes.
Yeah, you know, he's just to the point where you start shaking your head and going, "What the hell was going on in New Orleans?"
Right.
That they didn't see this. Because he's very instinctive. He's very gifted. He's a great athlete. He can run. He can cover. He's got high football IQ. He can blitz. Yeah, I don't. That's one I don't even worry about.
Yeah, good news there with Zach Bond. Interesting room, man. I think that's a pretty good four right now, even with Nakobe Dean out. So if you picture Nakobe Dean coming back, now you got Bond, you got Dean, you got Trotter, you got Campbell, you got Munden. That's a pretty good five right there at linebackers. Remember, everybody, we used to talk about linebacker poverty in Philly. That's pretty good. We'll see how they all pan out. John, let's move up to the defensive line. The edge room was your most concerning room, John, coming into the training camp. We're now 3 practices deep. What have you seen from the edge, from the defensive edges on the football team, and how did it change today in day 3, if at all?
Well, everybody's been raving about Jalen, as I said, and you've heard Jordan. Vic tried to throw some water on it, but it's not working. He's been the most popular. Moro Jomo stood out today. I do want to see those guys, especially those two, because they're the undersized, quick guys. So they're going to show up better,
right?
In this time of year, whether it's the spring or before they put the pads on. So I do want to see that. But they both look very impressive. Nolan, I talked to Nolan Thursday. He's kind of. I think people forget, like he's still wearing the brace from his triceps. He tore his triceps in the Super Bowl. So I think he's still working back. He's not limited or anything, but he's not 100% either. He's just fighting through it. So I don't think he feels completely comfortable, but I don't have too much concern over Nolan Smith. We talked a lot about Jordan Davis. He got a lot of snaps today. He's the opposite. Like, he's not the kind of guy that's going to show up at this particular time. He'll show up when the pads go on. I think so. You get a better indication of where he is. Same with Ty Robinson. I know everybody's excited about Ty Robinson, but I think he's going to show up more when the pads come on. But I've been very impressed with Morrow so far and Jalen's Hunt.
Very positive there. Johnny Mac, just a couple more questions here for you before we wrap it up. A big shout out on this Saturday, John. Today was the now annual, as you write, Military Day at the NovaCare Complex. So just a little shout out today to the great veterans and our active duty members of the United States military. We thank you for your service. I like that the Eagles do that now, annual Military Day at the NovaCare Complex. They put the camo on the numbers and everything. I think it's a nice little thing that they do. John, last position battle on I think the last one, would be that right guard spot. And I know you talked last time we talked, John, on one of these, you said, I'm calling it. I'm calling the comp. I'm calling the race. I assume that has not changed, and Tyler Steen is still the guy at right guard.
Yeah, well, I think it should change. I want to emphasize that when I said I'm calling the race, I think the Eagles have called the race.
Right. Okay. So Johnny Mac, in your eyes, you don't think it should be called, but you think they have called
I know.
it.
And actually, it only, Morrow, that's part of the impressive nature of Moro Jomo. I mean, for now, I mean, the Eagles, everything's pretty, white bread at this point. And, Morrow essentially plays the left defensive tackle. Jordan Davis has been playing the right defensive tackle. They're not doing, you're not going to roll out stunts or move things around. So, it's pretty, as I said, white bread. And he gets to go against Tyler Steen. And that helps. I mean, if all of a sudden,
this week, John, this guy's supposed to be our starting right guard, so you'd want him to be able to hold up, even if he's the least talented of the unit.
What I'm saying is it kind of works both ways. If you're getting excited about Morrow, understand he's not getting a lot of reps against Landon Dickerson.
Okay, interesting conversation there.
That's what I'm trying to say.
It
works on both sides of football. So.
So in other words, Morrow could be destroying a perennial backup. We don't know really what Tyler Steen's going to be yet.
Yeah, exactly. So, you got to factor in both sides when you start.
I wonder why that's the position they see most. That, like, to me, John, and I don't know, I don't want to speak for you, but from the sense I've gotten since camp started is the least confident guy you are in all the battles seems to be Tyler Steen, and that also seems to be the one the Eagles are already the most confirmed in, or whatever, however you would word it. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a continuity position, so I think that plays into it. The offensive line is best when there's a lot of continuity and a lot of chemistry, so you don't want to have a lot of uncertainty, if at all possible. I mean, Jeff Stoutland, he deserves the benefit of the doubt, certainly more than me. So I'll defer to him. But I saw Matt Pryor a couple times last year in Chicago. Played pretty well. Certainly had good grades from a PFF standpoint. The Eagles value him as a backup because he does have great versatility. He can play 4 positions, so that's valuable.
Is he playing right? Is he playing with the 2s right now, John?
Yeah, he's playing right guard with the 2s.
Yeah.
So he's behind.
And he's gotten every rep there, I assume?
I can't be concrete on that. I've spent the vast majority of my time looking at the defense because there's no competition on offense.
Right.
I
makes sense.
I literally 80% of my time looking at the defense. But yeah, from every rep that I've noticed, second team rep, he's been in there. Now, again, somebody might sneak in. Today, all of a sudden, Dorian, in the red zone, they went from Jalen Hurts to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I'm like, what? Whoa, where's Tanner? Tanner was probably talking to somebody else, and you try to keep things going. So I can't say he's been out there 100% of the time.
Right. I get it.
The vast majority, he's been the backup right guard.
All right, Johnny Mac, final couple words from you here. You mentioned just one thing there I want to touch on, then I'll give you a chance to give your final thoughts. 80% of your time, John, watching the defense. What's jumping out through 3 days? Got to be something. Got to be something that's jumping out.
Well, I think it was Morrow today, and I think it's been, and in a lot of ways, it makes sense because the 2 athletic guys, Morrow, Jomo, Jalix, Hunt, have looked probably the most impressive. And just as I said, when the pads come on, that's when they should be the most impressive. When the pads aren't on,
right?
When the pads come on, we'll see how it looks. But they've been the most impressive guys, along with defensively, as I mentioned, Zach Bond on the back 7. Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell's been tremendous. Cooper DeJean, I'm convinced, can do anything. He could probably go over to Citizens Bank Park and hit a couple home runs for the Phillies. So, yeah, no concern. Reed Blankenship is steady as they come.
Are you more optimistic they could be a top 10 defense now than you were before the 3 practices you've seen?
No, because I don't know where they're going. I'm a little bit. I've gone a little bit down on Kaylee Ringo from where it started. So I mean, the competitions have not really clarified themselves. I don't know how quickly Campbell's going to get out there. I don't know if it's going to be a Dory. I don't know if it's going to be,
right.
I saw some questionable things, as I mentioned, with Makuba and his size today, which were a little bit alarming. So, no, those competent, and that's the reason I'm looking 80% on defense, those things. But it's still very early. It's still very early. And
very early.
The goal is to learn from those mistakes and try to correct them.
John, great stuff today. Your final thought here on a Saturday edition of Football 24/7. Great work. And now 3 practices, John, for this team in the books. We're a couple weeks out from the first preseason game. We're rolling right along. Your final thought today, brother.
Pads are coming. Pads are coming early next week. So things are going to really ramp up. You're going to get to see one-on-ones, which is one of the funnest things about training camp is one-on-ones between the pass rushers and the offensive linemen. And then you get to see Eagles don't run a heck of a lot of live periods, to say the least, but they tend to run a few under Nick Sirianni. It's usually third team, but still, that's always fun when you see live reps and tackling to the ground, which is very rare. But you'll see a bunch of thud sessions and get to see some physicality, and that's where I think as I always say, that's where the Eagles' offensive line starts to show up.
No doubt about it. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. Get home safe, and we will talk to you. The Birds are off tomorrow, then they're back on Monday. John, we'll talk to you Monday morning on Birds, or not Monday morning. Well, we'll talk to you Monday morning for a brief segment, but a Monday night edition of Birds 365 coming up. John, I'll catch you then.
Yeah, and it is I should note it is a complete player's day off tomorrow, so
Right.
no walkthrough, no nothing.
Yep, good stuff there. Johnny Mac, thank you, brother.
All right, thanks all.
All right, there's Johnny Mac, John McMullen here on Birds 360, or not Birds 365, on Football 24/7, a Saturday edition. Appreciate everybody for watching today. Not much time to do post time. I'm over at my brother's place, and I'm in a kitchen where they're making a meal for 12. And I asked for everybody to shut up for 40 minutes. So I got to get the heck out of Dodge. I appreciate all of you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Real quick, great notes today on the defensive side of the ball. Moro Jomo looks really good. Jalen Hunt looks really good. Cooper's still dominating. Quinyon Mitchell, John wrote, it's any doubt on Quinyon Mitchell potentially taking a step back in year 2 is rapidly dissipating. How is that for a way to put it? I mean, so great stuff there. All positive front, I think, on the defensive side of the ball, and they won today. And when you have a defense that has more questions, I think them winning days in camp is a good thing. So appreciate all you guys watching. Hit that like button, and I'll see you next time here on JAKIB Sports. Thanks, everybody.
EAGLES, Eagles.